Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Music Makes Sense. The podcast talks about why, I don't really know how to do this, but we're back alone. I guess this one is really it's another solo one, and I wanted just to kind of talk about the last year, what it's been like doing Music Makes Sense, personal life. It's trying to be authentic, I guess, about what all of this means to me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Where do I start? It's been a weird year. This is my second year back in Fort McMurray. I started off the year in a really bad place. But I was really hopeful for things to get better. And I was working hard on making things go better. And things are better, I guess. But that doesn't really change some stuff. This pendulum swinging isn't changing. And what I mean by that is my emotions and my being seems to swing from good to bad, and I've thought everything from having a consistent routine to working out to eating right to having healthy relationship, to XYZ ABC all the way down. I thought doing those things would stop the swinging, and it doesn't seem that that's the case. It just kind of seems like it helps. It does help, and it gives me more of a baseline to get to lift off of. But then I'll get hit with a day like today where everything went right. I ran my errands. I got some food. Edited a lot of the videos. But yet I'm filled with just loneliness, and I don't really know how to talk about that loneliness because I have people around me, and I'm I know that if I just went up to any of those people and talked about what I'm talking about right now, they'd get it and they do their best to support me, but it doesn't feel it just doesn't feel right for me to do that for them.
Slurp. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You hang out for a bit. Want to come on?
Huh?
Want to come on for a bit?
Come on?
Yeah.
Where?
To the show.
Sure. Right now?
Yeah.
Make your own pots.
Cool. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do.
Okay.
So you want to tell everyone who you are?
I am Megan. I am your sister.
Nice. And what are you doing here?
Hanging out, enjoying a Friday evening.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Talking about how objectively I had a pretty good day, but I still feel really bad. And how even though I have a really good support system, I still feel really lonely, and I don't really feel like I can, really go to them all the time for all the stuff that I need them for.
Like you don't, almost in a way, you don't want to exhaust your support system by continuously going over quote unquote the same stuff, even though
I don't even, it's like exhausting. It's just like even just getting to that step seems almost impossible sometimes.
That's fair. I think it's also a lot with, like, especially if you deal with, even if you're not necessarily diagnosed, but you can understand where mental health issues, especially depression and anxiety, run through our family lines. It definitely creates a larger barrier.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I'm not really. I don't know. It's just
Well, the bottom line, depression literally puts up a barrier between you and everyone else in the world. It's almost like you're encapsulated in a little cloud, right?
Sure, yeah, but also, like, it doesn't feel like I am. Like, this doesn't feel like depression. It just feels like, just like a constant swing back and forth of like yesterday I hung out with friends and I did have a good day. And I felt pretty good about it. And today I didn't hang out with friends, and part of me thinks that the lack of seeing people today is meaning that I'm so down today. But also part of me doesn't want to believe that. I don't know. It doesn't, like. Do you, like, it's like I feel like I have, like, I'm getting used, like, you get used to different states of being, whether that be with people or not being with people, and I have a hard time being with people and then suddenly not being with people the next day, because it's like an emptiness.
Kind of like an emotional hangover in a sense.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess so. But, like, instead of, like, it's not like I'm sick.
No.
It's like, I don't know, like, it's because I don't I don't necessarily want to see people today, but I feel like I need people, but the people that I don't know, like, I don't know, it feels like in order for me to have people, that I need to participate in this certain level, and I can't just be me, because what me isn't really a desirable thing for people to experience.
But who said you just being you isn't desirable, though? Or is that a self-inflicted thought process?
Both.
Both.
It's experience of.
That's the cat.
That's beans. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Come on.
Hi, trouble.
It's like I feel that it's like your microphone's not even plugged in. Well, it's like growing up and then being the Debbie Downer, and then people being like, stop being the Debbie Downer. And then it's also like me getting the message and then stopping that behavior, but then that behavior doesn't go away. It just gets repressed. And now I'm in this place where I don't know what's fully acceptable, what's not acceptable, it's just easier for me just to not. And yeah.
I get what you mean, though. I think in a lot of ways, like, everyone kind of, not necessarily the entire way, but feels that to a certain extent. A little bit of, like, if I lessen myself in this way, I'll be more palatable. If I'm more palatable, the more people I'll be able to be around.
Yes, but that's also, like, I'm hyper aware that I don't want to be around the people that, like, I don't want to be around people just to be around people. because I also like when I'm very like it's very easy for me to know when I'm not around the people that I want to be with, and then that makes it even worse. Because like I don't know. This whole year I've been really like having a hard time thinking about knowing what's like I can't fully believe that this is all a random chaos, like random like assortment of events, and that things don't happen for reasons. And like I've got it, like I've talked about like death ghosts and like aliens and stuff like that on here recently, and I like this whole year I've had a really hard time wrapping my head around the purpose of death, and how like I've convinced myself that good people die young because their life is so actually not okay, that the only way for them to actually get peace and to fulfill whatever destiny they were supposed to fulfill is to die. And now that I'm thinking about that, I think about all the suffering that people go through, and all of like if that person died and they had to die because of like, you know, the way things are, then that means all the suffering that people are going through is also like a cosmic karma experience, and that there's a reason for that stuff. And I can't like wrap my head around that idea that there's like, you know, there's this karmic reason for stuff, but then also the seemingly random nature of like this stuff happens to everyone, and it isn't like I don't know, it's I don't know how to. I feel crazy for thinking that way, and I don't know if it's just me. Actually, I do know it's just like my grief response, but I also just can't not think about it that way.
Like, so you're kind of saying that, you know, they're in a way like their death is justifiable because it's almost like a restart point. All of a sudden, because of this death, now you get X, Y, and Z option, which wasn't available before. Is that kind of what you're saying?
No, a little bit, but like an example, like Kurt Cobain had to die. Kurt Cobain had to die because if he survived, then Nirvana wouldn't have become the band that they are. Music wouldn't have, like, the world events, like the butterfly effect wouldn't unfold the way it was supposed to unfold. And I can't wrap my head around, I can't shake the idea. Or so I have to, the cope is that it has to, you know, there's these predetermined things that have to happen, because if it is fully random,
okay,
then
so
you know it can't just be random, because then it means nothing.
I think it's a little bit of both, because literally by nature, everything is random. You know?
But like, we don't know.
And that's where you can get into it like super deep and philosophical too, because the only way that you'll ever know and truly fully understand the purpose of death and the reasoning of death is to cross that final bridge yourself. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up on it. It's definitely the thing of like, well, I can never experience it, so I'll never know. And our brains really do not like not knowing.
And like, I don't know, and like all of the suffering that comes from that person dying. Again, I can't just imagine like the world just being that cruel, because like, so I have to think about it like that. No, they had to die because if they survived, then, you know, something worse would have happened down the line, or, you know, there would have been more damage done down the line. And yeah, and like that's how I'm coping, and that's how I choose to think about things. And I don't know, and it's really messing me up, because I don't know where that line starts and stops, and where do I fit into this? Where do you fit in it? Like, where does everyone fit in this?
Well, that's another thing too. Like, after a person dies, it doesn't matter if you were insanely close, or, you know, feeling the effects, like, for example, Ozzy Osbourne, where he passed away. You're feeling the ripple all across the world through all different walks of life.
Mm-hmm. But then it's like, it's weird with that too, because like it's almost like it's when it's not about me, I don't have to cope with it. So it's very easy for me to look at that and be like, no man, he was 70 something. It's really only like people dying young that gets me, because I think, you know, like there was Beans, don't you dare.
Slurp, slurp, slurp.
No, you're done. You can't jump on that. It's $3,000, $4,000.
Beans, you
Slurp, slurp, slurp.
I can't imagine, like, dying old isn't like
dying old isn't quite as tragic as dying young.
No, and I'll do my spiel. I made a Facebook post. I deleted it. I didn't feel good about it. But like, in a way that I'm hyper analytical and hyper just like deep diving into this young death, this, you know, like predeterminism. I also on the other cheek, I can't see why people are sad about someone's life who, like, they're sad for someone dying whose life was so complete, because like there's no next step for him.
Yeah.
And so for me,
I think regardless, even if there isn't necessarily like a next step, like, I don't know, I think endings, period. It doesn't matter if it's an ending of a life, of a job, moving to a different place.
Let's get this right here.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Like, if you're like an ending, of course, like, this sounds so freaking cliche, but of course an ending is just a new route for a new beginning. And
to me that's feeding into the predeterminism. That's feeding into this idea that there's a reason why this person has passed. I don't think it's completely random, and I do think we all have our own certain little kind of life plan, but I definitely think what we have a general, you know, direction our life is supposed to go from when we're born, and then, you know, you're set up with, you know, it all depends if you have good parents, bad parents, financial situations, you know, there's some stuff that we can't help when we're born, and especially when we're born into it. But as we go through life, there are different, like, every day, like, especially considering like butterfly effect type of, you know, situations, a leaf falling down can change the course of your life, but also you choosing to use a fork instead of a spoon has the same effect as a random leaf falling. But how that's where how do we know the choices we're making are actually the choices we're making, but instead of being influenced by anything else?
Well, have you ever had like that little intuition gut feeling before? Or feel like you have like a little whisper in the back of your mind?
It's weird. It's yes and no. Like, I've I don't know. Kind of. It's I don't know. It's I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I have that little voice, and I'm not sure if it's, you know, an inner version of me, which it probably is, or if it's, you know, quote unquote God or universe or pushing force or, you know, whatever. But sometimes there are just little tiny, especially if you practice in the moment listening to little hints.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more you practice, the more you find, you know, more, I guess, doors, quote unquote, opening for you to more choices. It's all about practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I definitely think we have a predetermined kind of general plan, but the fine details, all that kind of stuff, like, and like you said, like, how do I know what the choice or what the outcome is going to be when I'm making these little day-to-day choices? You don't. That's what I guess is the fun part, if you can call it that, about life. It is still having some control over our destinies, but also sometimes some stuff's just going to play out the way it does.
I don't like that. For me, like, I don't know, I don't see that gray. It's, to me, it's like to me what you're explaining is like magic exists sometimes, but for me, if there's a world that magic exists, there can't be a world where magic doesn't exist.
But like, what do you define as magic, though?
I was just like an allegory. That was just like an analogy. Like if you literally pull out the wand and did a magic spell, but then you were like, oh, this only exists for some things, I wouldn't believe you, because that's like, you showed me that it exists here. Because like,
I get
don't know,
what you're saying.
yeah,
It's like you almost need something tangible for the brain to wrap around.
Or it's like, I don't know, like, yeah, to wrap my brain around. Like if I were to personify it, I guess the being that pulls the strings. I can't imagine that he cares about some of this, but not some of that. It's either he cares about all of it, or he lets all of it, either they care about all of it, or they let it all go out like a science experiment. I can't. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's like there's like it's. I don't know. Like I have such a hard time thinking about like why did they have to die? And sure, you know, like there's thousands of like, you know, I'm getting hung up on like the logical reasons of like, oh, they died because their brain didn't have any oxygen, because, you know, their heart exploded because of like whatever, like, you know, they died. But then also like,
is it almost kind of like a why them kind of moment?
Yeah.
Like what exactly went wrong to end up right where we are now?
Not like literally as in like what decisions were made, but I mean like, yeah, like more metaphorically of again, like the predeterminism, like the way I have to wrap my head around it is like, you know, like they're like everyone's life in their circle would have been worse if that didn't happen. And then again, you know, it's kind of, that's kind of where, like, I don't know, I feel like we're kind of going in circles here of it's like, yeah, you know, it has to happen for a reason, and if it does, then what does that mean about my life? What does that mean about everyone else's life? What does that mean about what I'm doing here right now? Like, what if this is all a futile effort because it's in my destiny to be, it's in whatever cards for it to be a futile effort, and I'm always just going to be like the jester trying to make something happen. But then, you know, I'm like, what if I'm an example of what not to do?
I think it depends on like what the end goal of it would be. You know, if your end goal is to, you know, let's say even going upon like the music thing, you know, end goal, you are, you know, worldwide famous and everything that comes along with that. I completely lost my train of thought there. I had something really good and it did poof, gone. Where was I going? It's gone.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. Is it even like truly like you are playing jester or anything if at any point it brings you or someone a little bit of joy though? Like what would success be? What would you define as successful for it? Like who determines?
Money.
Does it really though?
Right now it does. Right now it's I do it for the love of the game, because I do love the game. But a lot of my insecurity comes from not feeling like I'm a man, because I'm not following a traditional man lifestyle, and I'm not. And when I try to meet people, I feel like I'm half the person that I should be, and like. I can't compete in the dating pool. I can't compete in I just can't compete, because I'm not playing that game.
No.
And you know that, like, and I feel like if I had money, then that would change that. But also, like, I know that's ridiculous, and I know, like, it's a battle in my brain all the time of, like, trying to not be too negative with the self-talk of like, no, that's stupid. You know, once you get that, you know, once you get the money, you're still going to be a loser with just money.
True, because, like, ultimately, even people who have the money aren't happy.
And then I spiral even more of like, well, then what?
What truly will bring that,
you know, and then,
happiness?
And it comes back to just, I feel like and then it still just comes back to me feeling like I'm not, my personality, my, like, whatever
is in the makeup just isn't it.
It isn't enough.
Yeah.
And yeah. And it's so weird too, because, like, it's like people, it's like the more people gawk over me, the more resentful I get, and the more, like, you just, like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I definitely can see that, because especially when you're in a public eye sort of setting like you are, you know, you're very active in the community. You know, a lot of people, they know you, but they don't actually know you. It's a projected version of you.
And that's kind of like what, like, this all is me trying to give an authentic version of myself, but, like,
and then good old imposter syndrome just comes and starts nabbering in your ear.
Like, I don't think I'm terrible at this stuff, and it's not even like,
it's not even necessarily about being good. It's about being worthy.
Yeah.
If that's what you even want to call it.
It's, I feel like I'm waiting for someone. I'm waiting for someone to be like, you're not it, kid. Pack it up, go home.
But who's to say that you aren't it, though? Like, just to spin it in a different way. Because, like, just as much as they can say, you're not it, kid, pack it up, take it home, another person might be coming in, oh my gosh, you are groundbreaking. This is something new. This is fresh. This is what I wanted. We wanted this authenticity.
And that's when I'd look at them and be like, you just have no idea what you're talking about. And then that's when it goes, like, and then it just keeps spiraling down. I think that ultimately,
like, really brings in the lack of, like, having, it's not even like a confidence thing, because I consider you a pretty confident person in general. But, like, the self-worth thing. Yeah.
And no one wants, no potential partner wants to be dragging around a mopey kid who needs their validation all the time. And that's a pretty harsh way of putting it, but that's really how I see it. And that's how I feel about it, because also, like, the social media I consume, half of it is girls being like, you don't want anyone like that.
Oh, well,
Yes, I
even
know.
It's just, I think it's especially difficult because it truly is. It's like we live on different planets, even in terms of, like, what terms of content women and men, you know, consume, and what's kind of pushed towards them. But I've seen a whole lot, like, of, it seems to be that for women, self-worth comes from keeping everything together and keeping it organized, and a man's self-worth comes from the ability to provide, you know, like, bring in the more physical type of stuff. But we don't live in that world. We don't live in a world that is, well, now I don't really know if the world ever was perfectly designed for those strict and rigid roles and everything, but it's hard when we're trying to live up to the expectation of something that didn't even quite exist.
But I feel like like, living here feels, I don't think it's just, I don't know if there's any, like, I think it's just a self-worth thing, because when I lived in Edmonton, I wasn't good enough for the college girls. Like, I wasn't good enough for the most liberal people, the most artsy. I wasn't good enough for the people who were the most accepting, open, and, like, ready to do that. And then I come back here, and I'm still not good enough because I'm not a site worker who's making this much money. I'm not into that culture. So, like, where do I go?
No, that makes sense. If you're not in, you're on the out.
And also, like, I'm willing to accept, I'm willing to understand that, like, if I keep thinking like this, then, you know, like, it's not, like, it's, you know, like, I know what I'm saying isn't true objectively.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. It's that emotion is not reasonable. Emotion doesn't have any logic to it at all. Like, you cannot logic your way out of emotion.
I feel like I've spent my whole life doing that.
And how has that realistically worked out for you up to now?
50-50.
Trying to fully, yeah, you can definitely logic your way out of the situation, but unless you actively work to feel,
Mm-hmm.
and that I absolutely hate that, because in my entire life I've been told just feel your feelings. What does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it is true. Like, you can think about all the different ways. Okay, well, here's the list of my good qualities, here's a list of my bad qualities. I shouldn't be feeling this way because look at all this good. But brains don't work that way. They, like, I wish they did.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like some people's brains do.
See, I don't even necessarily think that. I think that they logic their way not into actually feeling and solving the problem, but they logic their way into locking it down into a box, shoved into the back of their mind, and their outside performing mask is just coming off as really put together. Like, you can know all of the fancy therapy terms and all of that, but unless you actually sit and do the uncomfortable part of it and do the illogical stuff, then I don't think a self-worth issue will ever get better. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Because you can't, like, in the same way that I can't think myself into being 120 pounds, you know? I can't think my way into losing 50, 70, 80 pounds. You can't think the calories away. You have to actually put in, you know, do the movement, do the exercise, do the meal planning.
But yeah.
And I think also we are so used to having shame as a tool to motivate us. Even if it necessarily wasn't, like, said to us directly, but, like, look at how many people in our lives have operated on a shame-based system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, that definitely tracks. It's like I'm everything that I've like done in terms of mental health. It's all routed in the world of, if you do the things, then you'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
I've done the things. I'm doing the things, and I still seem to swing. And I was talking about this before you came in. Like, it feels like it's like, yeah, sure, I know, like, yeah, like, I feel better after, like, going outside and, like, I you know, I feel better after all that stuff, but is this just what I'm gonna have to deal with for the rest of my life? Because, like, part of, like, you asked me, like what's the end goal? What is success? To me, success is not feeling like this. But also, success is this very narrow vision of me being, climbing whatever ladder there is, and proving myself to the world, whatever. And I feel like those two things are like the antitheses of each other. Of, if I want to not feel this way, why am I trying to prove myself to a literal global scale? And why am I, like, you know, when, if I just focused on, you know, like, I don't know, I have this obsession with a simple life. And I feel like if I just gave all this up and just got it, you know, and just lived a simple life, then everything would be okay.
But also, how many do you know who are living this simple life and aren't okay either, though?
But they haven't lived what I feel like those people haven't tried. Like, how many people do you know that live a simple life and are just perfectly fine? I'm willing to bet there's, I don't know.
I definitely think that there are people who are perfectly fine with this simple life. I can't think of any like over the top examples off the top of my head, but like out of everyone in the world, of course there's got to be people who are, you know.
And I guess like you know like simple life. I don't mean like the most basic could be like literal white picket fence, wife, kids, you know, like, 9 to 5 job.
Okay, I got you.
But I also know I can't operate. I can't operate like that.
Yeah.
I can't keep a day job.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do like and then it goes like even if I wanted to live the simple life, I couldn't because I'm not enough of a man to fulfill my role in that traditional thing.
I think that's like where you kind of hinder yourself in a way. Like, oh, well, I could be the white picket fence guy, but I'm not enough to be the white picket fence guy. Well, who is telling you you're not enough? Ultimately, bottom line right now, it is you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, outside and, you know, other influences have definitely helped shape that, but, like, it's even becoming, if you can get to a place where you can talk about yourself pretty neutrally. And so, like, oh, I'm just a human being. I make mistakes. I do some good things. I do some bad. I'm just here. Versus oh, well, I'm not enough because, well, I don't work the regular job. And I can't work the regular job because I don't like the way 9 to 5 makes me feel. But if I don't work this 9 to 5 and if I don't make this money, then I won't be worth. Because if you're, and this is where, like, I come in, like, with my woo-woo stuff. But if you talk about in terms, like, you know, manifestation, mm-hmm. You need to talk about yourself as if you are actually currently living. It's not, I want the 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. What are you doing? I want it. I'll get it one day, this and that. You got to actively think, oh, well, I love my house with the 3 bedrooms and the 2 bathrooms and my little garden. If you were every day walking around going, I'm worthless. I'm not worth this. And I want this. And I want this, but I can't have this. If I was this type of person, I could have this, but I'm not this type of person, so I'm not worth anything.
Yeah, and to go even deeper, I'm so aware of that I give myself anxiety knowing that I'm manifesting the wrong things, and knowing that if I it's like I'm on a constant, I got to get my together, and like
I feel like that's in a way everyone though, because everyone feels like there's something else that they could be doing to move on up, right? Like the way my therapist kind of put it when I was like in the real deep depths of the grief journey and everything, and I was just going to her and I was crying and I was going, Deborah, I'm so broken, nothing can fix me. I'm too broken, I'm too shattered, I'm not worth even trying to fix and save. I don't know why I'm wasting your time. And she told me, well, you know, you can think of your mind as a fixer-upper house, but the thing is that, like, even sometimes you can put the hammer down. You don't always have to be trying to fix yourself.
But when I feel like I'm not doing that, I slip so easily back into, like, I feel like I undo all of the progress.
But that's the thing about progress too, is that even if you do make a backslide, you still made that progress before. You know, like, let's say you were a drug addict and you have been clean for like 6 months. Technically, you restart on day 1 if you do have another relapse, but that doesn't take away the fact that for 6 entire months, you didn't touch your drug of choice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that links back into shame.
And that's another thing too. Like, shame is nasty. It is a nasty, oily, sticks to every fiber of your being type of emotion. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck too, because it's shame makes a very cozy, like, I don't want to call it cozy, but like it makes a very easy resting place in your mind, if that makes sense. It is easy to shame yourself.
Speaking of being cozy and like finding comfort in that, there's this weird part of me that also like it finds some sadistic joy in the idea that I am a failure and that when I'm 40 I can pick up a microphone and then I'm a stand-up comedian.
I mean, that's not a bad backup plan.
I think if we talk to any stand-up comedian ever, they would say stand-up comedy is the lowest rung of any bar. Like it's real. Like Joe DeRosa has a bit of this. It's real estate agent stand-up comedy. But then that again, like that goes into this whole all full circle into this like. What is manifestation? What is predeterminism? What is complete chaos? Of like, if I can imagine my life as like I can see the beats of my life going into this, like me trying all of this stuff and it not working, and then me finally being happy when I'm 40. I can see that arc way more clear than I can see the arc of me blowing up on a podcast or me being a successful musician, or those seem like intangible things. But me being a failure when I'm 40, that seems like set in stone.
Well, of
and
course.
Easy.
Well, especially where you're dealing with so much shame. Why wouldn't, like, your shame doesn't want you to see yourself as successful. It's like, yeah, we kind of are going in like the same kind of circle around all of it, but it truly does just realistically feed into itself. It is a never-ending, pretty painful cycle.
And that's I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable, but then I'm itching in my skin all the time.
I seen a quote, I forget where it was, but it's, you're going to be miserable doing the hard thing, or you're going to be miserable staying where you are.
Pain of regret or pain of working. Yeah, I don't know. It's.
And
I'm too smart for my. I'm too smart for my own good, but I'm an idiot everywhere else because I know all the fundamentals and I apply them sometimes, but then I don't apply them, and I can't just. It
leads back into the choice thing, because unfortunately, even with those choices, like, realistically, if you want to get out of the shame, you have to choose to keep, correcting that mental or that negative self-talk. You got to quit. Like, if you're noticing the shame spiral, okay, well, let's go take myself on a walk instead of sitting here and doing this. And a lot of the time it's kind of like putting off, like distracting yourself until you get through it. But at the end of the, like anything, the more you practice, the more you push through. And that's where, like, I enjoy not even necessarily working on like positivity, but neutrality.
Yeah. April says, if you can't be happy, just be neutral.
Yeah. And honestly, because like we're not meant to be happy 24/7.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly aware of that. And like like my idea of success isn't being like being manic all the time.
No, like you're not necessarily reaching for like that happy ever after, but just contentment. Like
the old man on the porch drinking tea, being sore from a heart, like knowing I did it. But then like I don't like it's I don't know, like it's I feel like I work really hard at what I do, but I also feel like I am the biggest slacker that exists.
I think like in a way that's almost anyone though, because typically people, well, how often are people actually faking
what?
Like, just faking their ease, faking their comfortability, faking.
I don't know, because I can't. That's why I feel such shame about being around people most of the time, is because I feel like I bulldog my way through a conversation and then they're uncomfortable because either they see the very bad attempt at being normal, or I just don't care and then I blow their face off with whatever I'm thinking about. Like I just did.
No, I don't really think, I don't know. I think it's a lot easier to focus on your own shame and your own shortcomings versus like...
Oh, sure. I don't think about your failures at all.
No, like you probably couldn't...
I couldn't name 5 failures of yours.
and I couldn't name 5 of yours. Like, not true bone deep failure.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got that little chittering in the back of your brain going, you're worthless. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve nice things.
And also, like, I have a little bit of an ego with, like, the shame thing too, because, like, it's I know my negative self-talk didn't get me here.
Mm-hmm.
I got here in spite of my negative self-talk. But also, I cannot deny me in my fundamental years of learning music, my fundamental years of just getting the stuff done. I had to do that, and the only way I knew how to get through and get good was, dude, you have to do this. Like, you're messing up hard. We got to pick this up. We got to straighten. Like, I had to be dad of, like, buddy, what are we doing? Like, stop. Do the things you're supposed to do. Get it done. Shut up. Just get it done. And, like, that has gotten me, like, I can't deny that has gotten me to a place, like, further than me not having that discipline. But then now I'm in a spot where I'm like, stupid, like, when I do mess up and I do, like, I'm not as diligent on the things that I feel like I need to be diligent on. Because I am pushing, like something as simple as editing a video. Like, it's I don't know where I was going with that. Just pretty much, like, the negative self-talk got me out of the rut of not having any discipline and being someone who didn't really have a lot of direction. But now it's at a point where it's overriding the good qualities that I have built up.
So it got you to where you are, but now it's no longer serving you.
Yeah, and again, it probably, if I were to look back and if I were to talk to that person, it probably would be in spite.
I think something that, like, you're kind of forgetting too is that you started your music journey incredibly young.
I guess so. I wouldn't consider it that way, but you are right. Like, it's
like,
yeah.
You were just like a little chicken nugget of a little kid. That is my favorite. Like, I know you hate it, but that's my favorite way to describe you during that. Huh?
Here's a photo.
Yeah. But, like, you were just like such a little chicken nugget of a kid. And, like, yeah, that discipline managed to help you get to where you are, and, like, how successful you've been, like, in terms of, like, you've got your EP with
Us.
Yeah, Us. Yeah. And then you have your solo EP out. That's like, that is incredibly impressive. How many people do you truly... Okay, well, in your circle, there's a lot, but, like, I'm speaking from someone who's like I'm not in the art zone.
Sure, but when I think of someone who's not in the art zone, I think of, like, them not even, like, I don't think of a normal person thinking of that as cool. I think of them like, oh, cool, they have a little guitar project. Oh, that's cute.
But, like, I think that's your negative self-talk, because, like, oh no, God forbid, I accept a compliment. Oh no. It's uncomfortable.
Well, because if I accept if it's...
But what makes you so afraid of accepting the compliment? Truly,
Because then... I never want to be the dude walking down the street thinking he's all of that when he has a sign on his back saying, "Kick me."
But you don't have to be that dude, and... you're allowed to accept a compliment and not turn into an inflated ego. I feel like it's with me specifically, it's the slipperiest of slopes. I think it could be. I think, and also it just weirds me out. Like, because, like, again, it goes back to like if you're empty, like, if you're just it takes a specific compliment to get to me. But if you're just like, oh, it's so cool that you're doing your thing, I'm like, yeah, cool, thanks. Like, yeah, whatever. And sure, like, that's not a good thing, because this person is opening their world to me, and I'm brushing it off. They're saying, oh, look, you provided this little tiny ray of sunshine. Yeah. Thank you so much. And you're just like, well, whatever. And I'm raining on it. I'm telling them that their feelings are invalid. I wouldn't even say that they're like, you're displaying the,
I'm dismissing it.
in a way, just dismissal and stuff. But like, I think that's where, I think if you took on like a non-shame approach, it would be a lot more comfortable to be like, hey, thank you.
But
I really see, the thing is that it's uncomfortable, and like, how do you do it? Just like you've told me you just do it. Like, I hate that advice so much because it sounds so stupid when you're just like saying it out in the middle of the air, but it's true. Sometimes you just have to do it. Oh, it's uncomfortable. Change usually is.
It's also not uncomfortable. It's like, I don't. To an extent, I feel like my way is the right way. And if you're not on the same wavelength as me in that regard, I'm just not going to agree with you.
Yeah.
And if you're like, Josh, you're so good at guitar, I'm going to say, no, I just sat in my room for 8 years. I don't think all I did was sit in my room by myself and be a loser.
You didn't really, it wasn't like, you might see it as sitting in your room being a loser, not doing anything, but like,
I was learning guitar.
You came out with a very impressive skill, and you taught yourself bottom up. Like, that is. Yeah. See, I know you're uncomfortable.
No, it's like, I don't know. I'm disrespecting music by saying it, but it's like, honestly, like at a certain level, I just feel like, eh.
But also,
So I'm a good guitar player. Am I saving lives? Not really.
Yeah, true. But like, also, you could be saving lives, though.
Sure.
How many?
And that's where, and that's probably where I can get my head around of accepting the compliment and just passing the football around for the goodness of music and for the goodness of understanding that it's a bigger thing.
But allowing it to sink in.
Like, I'm not a heart surgeon. I'm not like, if I spent a quarter of the time learning anything else that would have made me more successful more quickly, more success, like whatever. I feel like it I don't know. It would have been, I don't know, a different use of my time. Like, I don't regret that stuff, and it's still like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm a good guitar player. So what? Is George Benson saying that to me? Is Jack Stratton saying that to me? Are someone being like, oh dude, that 5-2-1 you did, and that's like, like, I feel like I can. To the average person, I'm a really good guitar player. But to the people that I want to look up to, like, look at me and respect me, I'm still just a child. And then I've barely even cracked the door of what I need to do to be able like to pass the football with them, which I don't know how true that is. Which, like,
I feel like is fair, but you're also judging yourself, like, when you're kind of down here and they're already, got 20-30 years into the game.
But also, but another big fascination of mine is music history. And routinely I'm running in, like, it's the biopic stereotype of you're my age and you're already there. So now I'm thinking, again, with the predeterminism, all of this, like, is like, in my biopic, is this where I need to be? Or should I be 15 miles down? Like, when do I pack up my and leave? When do I just, like, fully sink into myself and take, like, do I, like, is it in my cards to just move to New York and do that? Is it in my cards to not do that? Is it in my cards to fade away and just be a part-time? Like, like, what's my cards? And it might be my decision, but I don't know.
Yeah, you don't want it to be the wrong.
And then also, like, it's like, if I do make that choice thinking it's the right decision, it's not, and it is like I'm just scared. I'm scared.
Which I think is incredibly fair. I don't really know anyone who truly isn't scared in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have big music dreams. I don't, like, really have those big aspirations either, but at the bottom line, I'm still scared.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to be scared, though. Like, that's the whole part of it.
In which way?
Like, if you don't know what it's like to be scared and to be worried. You don't know danger. Like, does that kind of make sense? Like,
so going into like that little feeling in the back of your head. What if this whole music thing is the tinge in the back of my head being like, nah.
I truly think if the music thing wasn't supposed to be in your like playing deck of cards for this life or anything, I don't think you would be where you are. Like, if something truly, truly, truly is not meant for you, you will not have any inclination to go towards it. You will not have even the shame-filled discipline to, you know what I mean?
But then you see the kids who, like, bless their heart, they're trying,
but they're just not quite getting it. And
I wonder if another big insecurity of mine is like me. I just have this like this big fear that I'm walking through life with a big head, and secretly everyone's like, hey, yeah, cool, shaking my hand, it's a cool guy, yeah. But then behind my back, they're like, look at that loser, look at that dude. You know, who does he think he is with the podcast and the taking videos and the playing in the bands? Who does he think he is?
But I think more so people talk about like that, it's coming from their own place of insecurity, because at least you have the guts to do it.
Yeah, but I want to be good, and if the people, I don't.
But like, what quantifies as good? Like, what, who, or what? Like, who has to come up and say it's good, or what has to happen for it? Because that's kind of the problem. It's being good or being great or, you know, supposed to be. It's a continuously moving goalpost.
Yeah, it's seeking validation when the goal isn't to seek validation. It's just to do it.
And I feel like you need to have a level of, I need this validation from people, especially in the type of music career, because, well, if people don't like what you're putting out, what are you doing it for?
Well, that's kind of that goes into a whole different bag of worms of like, there's a whole, sometimes I don't feel like a true musician because I'm not fully in it for the craft of like, I don't want to be someone who just sits in the room and writes music for themselves and like is a pure artist where they're like they live, breathe, and die their acoustic guitar. And that's how that, and I don't know, it's, again, if I have a very I can only see the world through my eyes.
Yeah.
And
you happen to be a very black and white type
yes,
thinker. Meanwhile, like all of this stuff, all of these like kind of problems that you're kind of having in terms of the worth and stuff, this is all very nuanced, very gray area. My answer to this will be completely different than Joe down the street. And
I listen to everyone's opinion as a black and white opinion, as like, this is the way to do it. And I'm never happy with what they tell me. So then at the end of the day, I still just, instead of, you know, I'm still just left with that feeling of like, well, that got me nowhere. But then also, like, when I sit and ruminate on that stuff and I talk to other people, like, in a way, them not helping is helping me, because then I just realize, oh, all right, another example of I just got to do it myself, and I just got to figure it out myself. And like, I don't know why I'm resenting that, but like there is a little bit of a tinge of saltiness there of like, all right, well,
it truthfully would be super fantastic and really helpful if someone just walked up to you and said, hey, here's the plan, follow this, it's all gonna work.
Well, I've admittedly tried that with people. Right now I'm in a situation like that, and I don't like, again, like I was hanging out with some friends, and they had a guitar out, and they were egging me on to play guitar. So I started playing guitar. They egged me to like sing a song, so I sang a song, and the guy there, one of the guys there, was like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing here right now? Why aren't you why aren't you doing this?" And that's kind of like, I've never felt like I've been the dude to be a front man.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't feel like I am the kind of guy to be a front man.
Which is absolutely crazy to me because, I mean, I've literally watched you go on stage and completely transform into an entirely different person.
And if you're not the only person to say that, and you're not the only person
and what's a stage if not a performance?
Yeah. But like I think I know how much work goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe part of the self-worth problems come from I know how much work it takes,
mm-hmm.
and I don't feel like I'm able to do that much work.
Do you feel like you're not able to do that much work, or do you feel like you're not worth doing that much work? Or is it another third option where it's just I've been doing so much work for so long that I don't want to do no more work for a little bit?
When you're betting on someone else, it's way easier to not be personal about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so easy for me to play Brandon songs.
Mm-hmm.
I love Brandon songs.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for him to like for us to ride out in the midnight together and that be my life.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly content with that. I don't know if that's the cards. But the idea of me singing my 20-something songs that I've written the past 2 years in my bedroom for literally anyone scares me so much.
Well, also showing people songs that you've written, you're literally bearing your soul.
And again, like that's like, what's Brandon doing?
True.
What's literally what is every person writing songs ever doing?
I think that's just like another one of those, like, you got to get up and do it scared type of moments too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so to kind of bring it back a little bit, I feel like I'm getting a little uneasy with like the foundations that I've been building for the past couple of years. And I'm wondering if these are the foundations that I really want, or when is it time to nut up or shut up, bet on myself fully, and then just throw it all to the wind.
Well, it's dangerous and scary too, though, because there is like quite a bit to lose for that if you just throw everything towards it. Like, it's either you make it or you don't.
But also if I make it, like that's the thing, is I have no choice but to make it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure if Paul McCartney was right here, or if like anyone who went through anyone who went through that kind of thing, they look at me and be like, dude, stop, go now. Yeah.
Because, well, one part it's that they had the money to back them up, but
they didn't.
Well, you know, some people definitely had the money to back them up, but honestly, it's just sometimes you just got to send her. Like
Jimmy Page had double pneumonia touring in the back of a tour bus with the Yardbirds. And that was just life.
Is that something you'd be willing to do?
I don't know. Maybe. I can sit here and like fantasize about the rock and roll lifestyle, all that I want. But the fact of the matter is like I get really uncomfortable if I'm not home.
And that's a big part. I think like that's where you kind of need to, and I'm sure you already have, like, put a little bit of thought into what type of music artist do you want to be. Do you want to be a touring?
I do. And that's the thing. I want to sleep on, like, I want to do the hard slurp. But you know, I don't know if I'm actually, I don't know. It's
I think
all,
you possess
just gotta
every single skill that you need. I truly believe you do. It's just getting it through your own head that you are worth at least trying. And it's not the task that's unworthy. You think you yourself are. Yeah. Because it's easier to bet on. It's infinitely easier to bet on anyone else. Well, of course. We're not inside the other person's head. It's very easy to look on the outside and go, oh, yeah, no, they got it going on. But in the meantime, Poppy, in the meantime, they're just sitting there probably having similar, if not the exact same thought process that you kind of are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe.
I would almost bet any money on it, in all honesty.
I don't know. It's, yeah, maybe they're just better at not talking about it.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Well, I don't, yeah.
And sometimes the faking it is like faking it to yourself, not even the outside world, but like you just gotta sometimes make up your own mind and be like, okay, well,
and
instead of like you getting down on yourself about, not doing, not singing your songs for people or not doing XYZ, it should instead be like, why am I bullying myself out of this?
Mm-hmm. Because
why am I ruining this chance at this happy thing before it even has a chance to happen?
Because I feel like because if I'm strutting on the street in a big top hat and a purple suit, people are gonna look at me and be like, fake. That's not a real person. That's inauthentic. And
ultimately that kind of comes down to them too. Like if you want to wear your big funky purple suit and strut down that street.
I'm sorry, Aiden. I didn't even realize you wear a purple suit, but he wears a purple suit.
Oh, okay.
Dope ass suit. No, it might be red. Anyway, I might cut that.
I'm obsessed with colored suits anyway. I think they're fun.
Shout out LMP.
But like, is it not, is it not the most freeing thing in the world is to like not get hung up on the people who are going, oh, well, that's a weird purple suit.
Yeah.
Why is he walking?
It is, but I guess it comes down to like it's
a lot easier said than done.
And if you said it, I have everything that I need to do it, and I think the people who I judge, they don't have that all together, but they're still strutting around like they do. So then I have this eternal fear that no matter how prepared I am, there's always gonna be a big empty hole. I'm gonna walk by, and then the real people are gonna be like, haha, you think you got it, kid.
But I don't like that's, I don't know, you're judging the people for judging you when you don't even fully know that they're judging you.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
absolutely.
You're looking at them and you're putting your own projection. Because, like, I know I sure don't walk down the street and go, oh, look at that poser.
No, I don't do, no. I don't mean like that. I mean, like, people who are actively bringing attention to themselves.
Well, yeah, even then. Like, it's just in a way.
I don't like people like that.
And that's okay to not. But even if you don't necessarily vibe with them, I gotta, like, give them acknowledgement and commends where it's due to, like, literally have that little amount of care for what other people think about you, where you just full send it and go, they're gonna think what they're gonna think regardless.
Yeah, but don't you think it's a little important to think about what people think about you?
I want to say no, but I know I practice in my day-to-day life on a kind of on a scale where I very, very, very much care about what other people think about me on a day-to-day. But ultimately, what has the judgment of others ever given you other than more insecurity?
What's the line of judgment versus real help?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, that shirt doesn't work on you.
See, I think that they'd be like, if someone says that shirt doesn't work out for you, I think that's helpful because they don't want you, potentially coming into a situation where you could feel worse about yourself.
Sure, but then if you're like big bag boss bitch, who doesn't care what anyone thinks, wouldn't that just be like where's the line? Because like it's like again black and white thinking. Of I don't like it's.
And that's on such an individualistic scale. Like, I mean, I've walked around with pink and yellow and orange and a multitude of colors in my hair because it just was done very badly at home. But sometimes, and yeah, people make comments and they looked at me and I definitely felt the judgments and stuff, but ultimately it is your own personal decision.
Yeah.
And if you're going to assume that people are going to automatically see the worst about you, you don't hear it when they say nice things. It's you're predisposed.
Predispositioned.
Or predisposed to think that they're judging you in a negative light because you cannot view yourself in anything other than.
Well, I've also like I've picked up the mantra of like under promise and over deliver. So I almost want, it's almost like it's in my nature just to like, here's all the bad. Here's all the bad, but then it's out of the way. So then like if you can take all of the bad, then like. Then I'm waiting for some form of validation of someone to either say, "Oh, you're not all of that," or like, "Oh, but you are this."
Yeah.
So like I at the end of the day, like it does feel like it is a validation seeking thing, but I don't know. So like, why do I seek validation in that way, but I can't take a compliment?
I think it's because your brain doesn't necessarily know what it wants. You think you want the validation, but then when you're getting the compliments and the positive attention, your brain's going in a backpedal going, I thought I wanted this, but this isn't actually what I wanted.
So then if that's also true, then how can I be sure about anything of what I want?
I think that's just down to you having to pick and choose what you're going to believe for yourself, what you're going to believe in your own brain. And that's where like the choices that I kind of talk about come into, because like it is an active choice. Like I know we already kind of went over that, but like so much of our life that we really don't think about fully is that how many active choices we make on a day-to-day and in our brain. And
I think to hop on a pedestal, I think I make more active choices than a lot of people. Or I think a majority of people don't know that they're not making active choices, and they just kind of let their subconscious.
Well, it's easy to go on autopilot.
And I feel, I don't know, I feel like I'm like either, I don't know. Like autopilot sometimes exists for like I don't know, like it feels like either I'm on all day or I'm not, and it's like I don't get to choose when that happens.
Yeah. And
going back to the shame thing, going back to all this stuff of like I was told by every mentor, like everyone that I've had, of like, if you want to get good at it, it's consistency.
Yeah.
And how can I be consistent if my entire like system isn't consistent?
True.
You okay?
Yeah. No, my back was just doing a thing. I think that's where it kind of comes into like, if you like doing the planning type of thing, like something that I've started working on for myself is especially knowing like the up down type of moods and feelings and everything, as if you have a set kind of what you can expect of yourself on a hard day, on an okay day, on a great day, and having those, outlining that even just for yourself, and you don't have to follow it to a T, but even just knowing that even if I have a bad day, at least I did 10 minutes of my podcast stuff, or you know what I mean? Because like, it's fantastic to want to go balls to the wall all the time, but it's not feasible.
That's where I've been the past week.
Because burnout is definitely a thing, and sometimes you just do not have the mental or physical capacity to be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah, but also I don't get that luxury because like I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
Like if I don't show up, I don't show up. The podcast doesn't get made. The videos, like, my band, like.
True, but then that's where you can go on your you know, on your lowest days, well, if I only complete 20 minutes of this work, at least something is still kind of done.
I guess, but I think sometimes I don't get that. Like, if I'm on a job, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because I get paid to be the guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I don't show up, I don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sorry, if I don't show up, then that, like, it's...
You're not going to get...
I don't get paid. I ruin a really good reputation. Like, I ruin a really good reputation I built for myself. And, like, you know, like, if it's time to show up, I gotta show up. Mm-hmm. And I don't really have... like, that's not really a problem I have. Like, it's... I guess, so, like, to kind of, like, to go into it, like, when it's time to show up, when it's game time, it's easy for me. Like, it's whatever. That's not a problem. It's all of the other in-between times that are the problem for me. And since I can turn it on for game time, it makes me think, why can't I turn it on any other time?
But you also haven't been on full-time for game time either.
Sometimes I am. Sometimes it's 9 a.m. to 12 to 1 a.m.
True, but I'm not talking, like, I'm talking about, like, it may be a really, really, really long day that you have to be on, but you do not have to consecutively be on for weeks, months, years at a time.
And then that makes me think of, like, if I'm on tour, what if I do have to be, like...
I think that's where you would set up some kind of safety things, you know, like booking a venue so where you do have, like, one day where you don't have to be on the road, don't have to be doing anything, chill, like implementing those small... little tiny things that in the moment, it's more of a pain in the ass to set up, but ultimately down the road, when you do get to your, I'm only at 40% today, boys. Okay, well, we have done all this. We've planned for this. And also, I think a lot of you even said it yourself, your self-discipline and your shame are, like, intertwined. Because if you do not have shame, you don't have discipline, and that's the way you've kind of worked it for so many years. Even if you were able to take away or even lessen the shame and be able to still kind of, you know, turn yourself on and, like, know when you need to go. But, like, the shame thing, I think that's a huge hindrance for you. Because you can have self-discipline without shaming.
Yeah, it's... like, the starting is the hardest part for me. Because, like, my have-tos turn into get-tos pretty quickly. And, like, again, like, that's kind of where, like, the shame comes from, because I know, like, dude, if I just do this thing,
but
then it'll get better, and then I do the thing and then I get better, so then days like this happen where it's like, dude, just do it.
But, like, also, is it actively getting better if you're shaming yourself for it too?
I think it's, well, what is better? I'm doing a lot more, and I'm a lot more productive, you know. I'm turning out a lot more content, and I'm, like, you know.
And that's another hard part about being your own boss, is that there's no one else to tell you what, you know, at a 9 to 5 or at a site job or a certain, you know, you're given a scope of what you're supposed to do. Here, check off these boxes and you're good to go. Boss man will give you something else to do tomorrow. You don't have that luxury.
Want to plug anything?
Huh?
Want to plug anything?
What does that mean?
Want to plug anything? Got anything going on? Anything for people to know?
Oh no, I'm boring as all.
Slurps.
Okay. Social media, anything? No?
No. I can't even run the cat TikTok on a consistent schedule, so.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me in the garage.
It's a podcast.
We love it. Actually, no, the set looks nice.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it's the bare minimum of what I can do.
Hi, I'm Corey, Beats in a Box manager.
And I'm Mel.
And this is Music Makes Sense. Hi, I'm Justin McNeil from Beats in a Box. This is Music Makes Sense.
Hi, I'm Hannah at Balloon Animal Dog on TikTok, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Hey, it's Anna Potty at Mrs. Potty on Instagram, and this is Music Makes Sense.
I'm Jesse Death from the Fomites, and this is Music Makes Sense. We're Lionhearted, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Hey, this is Darren with Rock the Rails, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Hey, this is James from Crosswood, and this is Music Makes Sense.
It's your boy Nickel Butter, the hottest rapper in Fort McMurray, and this is Music Makes Sense.
This is Eric from Beats on the Box. This is Music Makes Sense.
Hi, I'm Mike from Supermodel Taxidermy, and this is Music Makes Sense.
Alright, I'm Chris.
And I'm Lucas.
And we're from Slander Brain and Deathwish.
This is Music Makes Sense. Hey, this is Andrew Potty. This is Mira. This is Music Makes Sense.